All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Tip Tuesday. Geoffrey Nance here with you. Sorry for a late start. I was trying to get some stuff set up on a different computer and it didn't recognize me. So I was having to jump through a couple of hoops this morning to get this thing going. But we are glad that you guys are with us. So whether you are listening to us live or you are going to be catching the recording, appreciate you joining us today. If you've been reading your emails, you know that today's topic is about using the stop loss. Before we really get into that, because I'm actually going to go into charts by Tradeway and show you how to use a stop loss. But I figure before we really get there, let's talk a little bit about why we would use these. Like, what is a stop loss? Um, and how does it help me in my trading? So let's do two things. One, let's assume that you don't want to sit in front of your computer all day and watch your stocks or options. Can you set up automated orders that would execute under certain parameters? And the answer is yes. All right. And a stop loss is one of those orders. Now, a stop loss literally means that I'm in a trade. I am losing some money on this trade and I want to stop losing money on that trade, thus a stop loss. There are two general types of stop losses. There is what is called a stop market and a stop limit. Both of these are stop loss orders, therefore they are closing orders. So when you go into your broker, you may have to go click on your positions first, which is normal. You're not going to set a stop loss until you're actually in a position. So this is going to be at least a second step in the process. So once you have entered a position, whether you bought a stock or whether you purchased an option, you can do these with more advanced strategies as well, but we're not really going to get into that today. We're just kind of focus on stocks and options here and how we would set a stop loss on those. But I am going to go into the software and actually show you how that works and what that would look like. So two types of orders: stop market. A stop market, guys, is basically an order that is triggered and then executed simultaneously. So once the parameters that you have set have been met, the order gets triggered and executed. Now, most of the time, this will happen at the bid price. Remember that the bid price is the lower of the two prices. And so when you go to sell, you would prefer to sell high. What is the market maker going to want you to do? Sell low. So it will be executed at the bid price or maybe somewhere in between if your broker can work that out. But generally, you should just assume it'll be the lower price. But it's an automated order and it gets you out. And so you could be at work, you could be on vacation, you could be doing whatever. This is an automated order that would execute when parameters were met. Then there's a stop limit. A stop limit requires two entries, so it's a little different, and we actually don't really encourage you to use stop limits. A stop limit requires that you enter a price that triggers the order, okay, your stop price, but then you have to enter a limit price. And the way that this would look is, let's just say you bought a stock for, we'll just say $5, and you want to stop out at 480. We'll just say 480. So if that was the case, then you would have to go in there. If you were using a stop, you would just say, all right, I'm going to stop out at 480. Now, if you enter an order of 480, remember, you'll probably actually stop out, assuming they have 1 cent bid ask spreads, that you would actually stop out of that at 479. So if you really want to stop out at 480, you're going to need to enter a stop loss for 481. Because if they have 1 cent spreads, now the spread would be 480 by 481. It would trigger at 481 and then actually sell at 480. So if you're really trying to get a particular price, you're going to need to raise that order up a little bit to compensate for the spread there. But with a stop limit in particular, you would have to enter your stop price, and then you have to enter a limit price. So in the scenario we just presented to you, you would enter an order to say, stop me out at 481, but then you would enter a limit order that would say, you have to give me 480 or better. Well, guys, there's not a whole lot better than 480 when you're stopping out at 481. So the problem with a stop limit order is that it has to trigger. Okay, easy enough. Does the stock reach that price point? Then it'll trigger. But then we need it to execute. And the issue with a stop limit is, what if the market maker has a 2-cent spread? And when it triggers at 481, you put in a limit order at 480, but the spread is 479 by 481. And you've told them you have to give me 480 or better. What if they say, no, we don't want to give you 480. The bid is 479. If you had a stop market, it would have sold you out at 479. This is over. It's done. You're out of that trade. No more losing on that particular trade. It's over. But with a stop limit, you might think, oh, wow, whew, glad I got out of that trade. You might get home and the stock might be at 450, 440. And you're still in that trade going, why in the world am I still in this trade? I set a stop limit on this. Well, if the spread, okay, was large enough, your order got triggered, but maybe not executed because your limit price was too tight and it might have just skipped right on through it. So a stop market will ensure that not only does it get triggered, but executed at the same time. Now, you may not get the best price. You do lose a little bit of ability to haggle with them, but it is a trigger and execute all at one time, whereas the stop limit is going to get triggered at your price, but it may not necessarily get executed. And if you're relying on automated orders, then it's really important that you use an order that's not only going to be triggered, but also executed, even if it's at a less than ideal price point. All right, so let's go over here. Let's show you how this works, because those are our two types of orders. So now we'll go over here and we'll show you what this looks like. All right. Trying to make sure this shows up. So let's make sure it is showing up. There we go. You guys should be seeing my, skipping back and forth. Hold on just a second. Here, I want you to see what's on my screen, but I still want to be able to see you. Let's just do this for now. All right, so you should be seeing my screen. I hope that's the case here. And we're going to go in here. We're going to walk through this process. I think I've got a few. I think I've got a couple of orders here. Yeah, all right. So I've got a couple of stocks here. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go all the way over to the right. Our action, remember, this is a closing order, guys, a closing order. So I now have the option to choose, well, what kind of order do I want? Okay. So I can just do a limit order and basically set a price and kind of haggle with them a little bit to sell now. I could do a market order, which means just go ahead and sell me at the current price. I just want to get out of this trade. Just let me out of that trade. Then you can see we have a stop. It's a stop market. Your broker may just simply say stop, but it is a stop market. And then you can see the stop limit. So let's just go ahead and click on stop here. You'll notice it says the quantity. Of course, you can change the quantity, but most people, if they're stopping out, are going to want to stop out with all of their shares. You would set a price. Remember, your price needs to be lower than the current price. If you set a stop loss at a higher price, you're not stopping winning, or sorry, you're not stopping losing, you're stopping winning. Okay. So stop losses always go below current price. All right. Let me repeat that. Stop losses go below current price. This is going to be true whether you're doing a stock or an option, that your stop loss is going to go below current price. If you try to set it above the current price, you'll either get an error order or it will stop you out immediately, because again, the order is to sell at this price or anything lower. So if you set anything that's higher, it's going to stop you out immediately. So you'll either get an error order or it will stop you out immediately. So remember, that's stopping winning. We're not doing this to stop winning. We're doing this to stop losing. So lower than the current prices. So let's just say I wanted to stop out on this at 63.40. That's about 4 cents away from where it is. The next real key here, guys, is duration. So do I want to go in and say this order is either going to get executed today or I'm still going to be in this trade tomorrow? Or do I want to make this a GTC or good till canceled order? And if I make this a good till canceled order, then it's going to stay there until one of two things happens. One, I actually get stopped out of this trade at my price or something lower. Or two, I go in there and I cancel this order. Okay. So just remember, if you go in there and you try to sell, all right, so the stock is going up and it's doing really well, and now you want to go sell, and you go in there and you click on your position and you try to sell, it may say that this is a possible duplicate order. It may not allow you to send that order through. And the reason for that is because you do have a duplicate order. So if you still have this stop loss sitting there, you're going to need to either raise the stop out up so high that it then acts as a sell order, or you're going to need to cancel your stop order so that you can just go out there and outright sell that thing. Okay. All right. So let's clear this. All right. Now let's assume that we were over here. Let's see. Let's just go find ourselves a stock. I'll just do the first one that pops up. All right. Apple. Let's go over here and let's just say, we'll just use a weekly for this illustration. It doesn't matter. And I had previously purchased the 170 strike here. And now that order showed up under my positions. Okay. So I'd go click on it under positions. And then once I did that, I would then have the ability to go set a stop market on this. Now, in this scenario, guys, let's just say I had paid $3.10 for it. I would then go to set a stop loss. Even though I'm using the movement of the stock to make my stop out decisions, I didn't buy the stock, I bought the option. So you're going to base your stop out on the price of the option, not the price of the stock. So in other words, if we bought this for $3.10, we want to stop out at like $2.90, then we simply go into our positions and set a stop loss at $2.90 or anything below that. Now notice the difference with the spreads. These aren't 1 penny increments. This is 10-cent increments. Now this one right here is only 2, but this one that we're looking at is 10. That one's 20. So when you set an automated order with your options, it does get a little trickier because you're probably not going to get the price that you want. And you just have to understand that is one of the downsides, if you will, of not being able to track your trade either through alerts or just watching the stock, that you may not get out at the best price. But stopping out at $3 is better than not stopping out when the stock or the option gets to $2, or $1.30. It would have been a whole lot better to stop out at $3 than to let that option get down to $1.30. So even though you may not get the best price because you set a stop loss on your option, it's still better to have a stop loss than to have nothing and then end up losing big. Remember, one of our big objectives here is to help you win big and lose little. So stop losses will enable you to lose little. All right. Well, that is our tip for today, guys. Stop losses, right? So stop losing. if you're going to lose money on that trade anyway, and that's going to happen, it's just part of it. It doesn't matter how good you are at trading, you're going to have some expenses from time to time. It's better to have small expenses. So if you can watch it, you can get alerts, that's cool. But if you can't, having automated orders is a great way to go. Just remember, you don't enter a stop loss till you're actually in the position, and stop losses go below current prices. You can make them day orders. At the end of the day, if they haven't executed, then they cancel. You would have to go put a new stop order in for each day, or you can make them GTC. One last thing here. You're not charged for entering stop loss orders unless they become executed orders. So you can go in there and you can change that stop loss many, many times without any issue at all. Okay. So if the stock, let's just say you had a stop loss at, $5, but now it's up to like 5.50. I may not want to keep my stop loss at $5. I might want to move my stop loss up to 5.40. You can do that. There's no charge for that until that order is executed. So you can change your stop loss many times. You can follow that order up as it's working. You can set it below so that in case it dips, you kind of lock in that profit. You're welcome to do that too. Just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. If you have any other questions about this, let us know. We'll see you over there on that community site. I'll be glad to talk a little bit more about that if we need to. Thanks for being on with us today, guys. We'll see you next time.